Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar on data management and governance in Microsoft SharePoint. My name's Libby. I'm here to just give you a quick introduction and a background to Alberon and the services that we provide. And I've got a short little presentation just to show everyone just that you're familiar with what we do and who we are. So, Alberon was started around 17 years ago here in Oxford, primarily specialising in web application development, SharePoint development, Power BI reporting and analytics, and bespoke software development. More specifically, some of the services we offer include software development, web design and development, managed web hosting, and software and web support and training. We actually have a series of really comprehensive training courses that we'll be launching sometime in the near future, which will be really in-depth and teach you how to manage and keep up to date with your own personal online environments. And more recently, we've been expanding our SharePoint services, where we can help with development, design, and consultancy, and like I just mentioned, some training. So some of the SharePoint services that we offer include helping with the planning, design, and development of your site, migrating and updating services, and just providing ongoing support, including training. And the reason we want to support more organizations with SharePoint is because it already comes as the part of the Microsoft 365 subscription. So it's really accessible to those who already use Microsoft services. And we also find that a lot of businesses or organizations don't really use SharePoint to its full potential. So we can really help organizations and individuals to maximize the benefits of this Microsoft suite of applications that already comes included as their package. So SharePoint can be used for more efficient collaboration, document management, and control. And it can also be customized to your organization to handle any specific business processes that you require. And we tend to find that people enjoy using SharePoint because of its sort of built-in functionality. It's got centralized administration. It's very customizable. The document management and collaboration features are really handy, and it is quite easy to use as well. The security features are also very good. You can control your permissions and your access structures as well. And as I mentioned previously, it's also fully integrated with the other Microsoft 365 apps, which just creates a really seamless, efficient environment and user experience, which empowers people to be able to handle a lot of processes themselves instead of having to really heavily rely on external support. So we've got a few happy clients, or many happy clients, including a lot of colleges, charities in and around Oxfordshire, who have found that their processes have become a lot more efficient since delivering their SharePoint environments. And you can actually read more detailed testimonials on our website. Additionally, on our website, we have a range of case studies which you might find useful to read. These case studies identify the challenges that organizations were facing, and they detail how Alberon were able to help them to create more positive results that sort of benefited everyone in the workforce. Some of the solutions that we have delivered include establishing an easy-to-use intranet, reforming permissions and access structures, and providing consultation and training to company staff to help them become more confident with maintaining their sites. And this includes, the removal of any inconsistencies within their site structure, with far more professional setups and more appropriate systems for information sharing and access. So why choose Alberon? Well, we've got almost 17 years of experience, and that combined with the skill and expertise of our consultants and developers, we really know how best to tailor solutions to your needs. And additionally, we can provide business insights and analytics, as well as in-house technical support. So you can feel comfortable knowing that your sort of technical needs are in safe hands. If you're interested in any more of the services that we offer, or if you'd like to know a bit more, you can drop us an email at hello@alberon.co.uk, and we'll be happy to discuss any queries with you. Now I'm going to pass over to our senior SharePoint consultant, James, who will be leading the main content of the webinar this morning. Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. As Libby said, my name is James McDowall, and I'm the senior SharePoint consultant at Alberon. My job really is to, apart from delivering webinars and publishing blogs and providing training, primarily is to act as a consultant for our clients to either help them move to Microsoft 365, or if they're already in there, to help them get the most out of it and make it a really effective and efficient suite of software for their business. This specific webinar is on governance. Now, governance is a huge topic, so this will be an overview, but as Libby mentioned earlier, we are planning on providing more in-depth training so you can get hands-on with some of this stuff. So if there's anything I cover today that you would like to go through in a lot more detail, get in touch with us, and we can, if we're not providing the training, we can look at putting something together. It's going to be split into two areas. The first one is some of the out-of-the-box functionality that SharePoint provides around governance and data management, but also some stuff that your organization could deploy internally, or decisions that you could make to actually improve your data governance. And part two, we'll be looking at a service available in 365 called Microsoft Purview, which is included in some enterprise licensing, but can also be procured as a standalone product, which gives you a lot more high level, a lot more sophisticated governance features and policies. So data management. So a lot of this is available out of the box, as I said, or it will come down to decision making within your business. First one, roles, responsibilities and training. This is really important. People are at the heart of everything you do with 365. And once you get this software, what it encourages you to do is to move away from centralized IT control and actually get teams and individuals to take more ownership of their data, their information, and how they use it. As part of a discovery phase, if we were rolling you out onto Microsoft 365, we would be really focusing at the start on roles. And what I mean by that is who would be in charge of your sites, who'd be in charge of your data, and how that would be managed internally. Now, this can vary business to business. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's also important to think about other specialists within your business who may have an input into how your SharePoint environment, how your data estate is run and managed, and that can include data protection officers or information officers, or business analysts, a variety of roles, and this will depend on the roles that you have internally and probably the size of your business. Responsibilities. If you're setting people up to manage their own SharePoint sites or their own data, then you really need them to be very clear about what their responsibilities are. As I said, moving away from central IT control and actually rolling this out to individual teams is quite a big change for a lot of organizations. So you should have, we would recommend having documented policies and procedures so that anyone that's put in a sort of has privileged access to 365 understands what they're responsible for and how they can manage it effectively. And training underpins all of that. Most staff will need some level of training when they move to SharePoint and move to 365, but anyone that's in a position of responsibility will need more in-depth training. And we've worked with clients before where we've developed super user groups. So we've had staff from across the business who receive a higher level of training so they can understand and deploy better data management and governance procedures. Next one, naming conventions. I've seen this used in a few companies. It's not widely spread out from some of the clients we've got. But some organizations do like to have a standardized way of naming their documents. This can be really effective if you've got a large amount of data, and it can be really useful for indexing, cataloging, and archiving. And it can help staff when they're creating content so that you're doing it in a uniformed way. So this is something you might want to consider deploying out, and obviously that's an internal decision, but very easy to set up and manage within SharePoint document libraries. Following on for that, and a similar theme, data validation. Now, a lot of businesses generate a huge amount of data, a huge amount of content, but what they're not necessarily good at is analyzing that data once they've created it. Data validation is really key to this. It allows staff, so whichever member of staff across your organization is creating content, they're actually creating it in a standardized way and inputting data into your system in a pre-agreed format. This makes it a lot easier to analyze at the back end, particularly if your organization starts to use things like Power BI. Free text is not great when it comes to data analysis. Sometimes it's useful if you need feedback or opinions, but when you're actually come to analyze data and try and use it to build reports, dashboards, or whatever, having it put in a standardized format wherever it's come from is really, really useful and pays dividends once you come to use that data. Next one, branding and navigation. On the face of it, this might not seem that important around data governance, but actually what this means is you're trying to create a professional, standardized environment across your SharePoint sites, particularly if you've used them to build an intranet, for example. So to have your corporate branding across your sites just gives it that more professional look and feel. And the navigation is really key. To have a very easy to follow navigation bar in your SharePoint environment so that your staff can navigate around your sites quickly and easily. Does help to prevent data getting lost or hidden away in dark corners of your intranet, and it makes it more visible and more transparent. Approvals and archiving. So approvals first, there's two main ways of using approvals within 365 and SharePoint. There is actually an approvals application built into Power Automate, which is an application that you can use to create very smart and automated business processes and workflows. This is really, really useful if you need some human intervention at any stage of your process to give it that sort of oversight and governance management. Very easy to set up in Power Automate, and it's fully integrated with Outlook and Microsoft Teams. So it gives you that level of assurance that someone has cast their eye over this process and is happy for it to continue. SharePoint also has an approval function built into it, into your document libraries. And what this allows you to do when activated is any new content generated or uploaded to that document library will not automatically be visible to everyone until someone, either a document library owner or someone in maybe an approval group that you've set up, has actually reviewed the document and given it the green light. This is really useful, and we've just done this with quite a major client of ours because they had quite a sophisticated document library that was actually customer facing. So they wanted that level of scrutiny before it actually went public to their customers. Very quick to turn on in SharePoint, very easy to use, and something we would go through in any discovery phase that we worked with on clients. Next one, multi-factor authentication. All of the 365 applications, including SharePoint, are accessed in the cloud via a web browser. Many of them do have desktop versions that you can install locally on your device, and many of them also have smartphone and tablet versions as well, including SharePoint. This is great because it really supports hybrid and remote working, and also allows people to work on the move if they're in a mobile type of role. But obviously that raises issues around security of your data. So two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication does give you that extra layer of security, so that you know if staff are out and about or at home and their devices get compromised, you do have that extra level of security to protect your data. This is very common now on most websites and online applications that you use, and I'm sure most of you have probably used this at least once. Users can set two-factor authentication up themselves on Microsoft 365, but it is also possible to force this out from 365 Admin Center globally around your business, so that the next time someone tries to log in to your 365 environment, they are prompted to apply this authentication level before they actually can access the data. So it's something we would highly recommend to all of our clients. And the last one on data management is metadata. So metadata, we did cover this briefly on a previous webinar on document management. And this metadata is essentially information about information. So SharePoint document libraries allow you to create a glossary of keywords that you can use to tag your data. And this allows you to index, search, and catalog your data far more effectively, and allows you to manage it a lot better. This is really useful if you've got a large amount of files in document libraries, because it actually allows you to group and keep an eye on your data and see what's going on. So all of these things are available either out of the box in SharePoint, or you can actually make these decisions internally, and there are features in SharePoint that allow you to push this stuff out. We would cover this on the discovery phase, or if you're doing a review of your SharePoint environment, and we would be able to help you deploy all this stuff. And it just gives you a greater level of control and makes your document environment a lot more efficient. Okay, so the next bit is, as I said before, on Microsoft Purview. Now, this is included in E5 enterprise licenses, but it's also available to purchase as a standalone product. Now, whether you choose to use this is really, really down to the type of organization you are and the amount of data you hold and the confidentiality of that data. But it does give you a whole range of features that you can deploy, not just across SharePoint, but across other applications in 365, including Yammer, Microsoft Teams, and Outlook. And it gives you some really sophisticated information governance and information protection features. So the first one, as you can see there, is sensitivity labels. If your business actually classifies its data, you can see some examples of sensitivity levels there. You can replicate these in Microsoft Purview and actually push them out across your entire data estate. You can create policies to go with these labels, which can do a whole range of options, from as simple as prompting users to apply a label to a document that doesn't already have one, up to things like auto encryption, or even blocking confidential information, for example, from going externally to your from your organization. It's incredibly powerful. You can create, there's a sensitivity column built into document libraries in SharePoint, so you can very quickly see where your confidential information is. So any organizations that hold a large amount of commercially sensitive information or personal data, this can be really, really useful and help you to actually control and protect that sensitive information that you use. Very easy to set up. There's step-by-step guides in Purview that walk you through creating these policies and deploying these labels. They can be targeted. It's not a blanket push out to everywhere, although you can do that. You can target it at specific groups and individuals or specific sites, and you can have multiple policies as well. So this may be something you might want to consider depending on the type of data your organization holds. Similarly, retention labels. If your organization has a data retention policy, this is quite common in regulated industries where you have information that has to be kept, say, for legal reasons for a specific amount of time. You can create labels to that effect in Microsoft Purview, which can also be deployed out across 365. And basically what that will do, as well as marking and tagging the information with that specific retention period, it will actually prevent the information from being deleted early. And you can create policies to go with it. So you could have it auto delete when it gets to the end of its retention period, or you can have it notify a group or an individual to take manual action. This is really useful, like I said, if you're in an industry where you do have to keep certain information for a specific period of time, and it gives you that reassurance that that's being managed automatically across your entire estate. So another really useful feature. Next one, data loss prevention. A lot of organisations we've spoke to are applying for Cyber Essentials, which is a security and information accreditation. I believe that one of the requirements to get this accreditation is to actually have a data loss prevention policy, but it's also really useful for organisations who do hold really sensitive personal or commercial information to actually keep an eye on it and make sure that it's being managed and used appropriately. There are policies built in, but you can create your own custom policy. This is something I started to look at in my previous organisation, and I'll give you a very brief example of how this can work. So I created a test policy that was looking for personal identifiable information, so any confidential information that could that would be applicable to me or could cause me harm personally. I then created a Word document, and all I typed into it was my national insurance number. I uploaded that to a SharePoint document library, and within a couple of seconds, I got an email notification saying that a national insurance number had been uploaded to SharePoint and action needed to be taken. And included in the email was a link to the exact location in SharePoint where that was put. So if you do want to check whether any sort of confidential information is being uploaded into your SharePoint environment, or you need to keep a handle on where it is and who's got access to it, these policies are really, really powerful. And like I said, along with the sensitivity and retention that I spoke about previously, it gives you that level of assurance that your data is being managed and protected. There are lots of other things you can do with these policies, but we would cover this on more in-depth training, hopefully coming up. Next one, communications policies. Slightly different. You can run communication policies from Purview. There are templates built in, but you can create your own. And this is looking about how people are interacting with your SharePoint environment. So it can look for things like financial insider trading or harassment. So it's quite unique policies that you can push out to actually make sure that people are, how they're interacting with each other, but also how they're interacting with your data and information. And I know some previous companies I've worked with, for example, the HR department, have found this very, very useful. And this would be covered in a lot more detail because these are quite sophisticated and complex. But I thought I would just mention that that's a feature that's available. Subject access requests. You can generate these from within Purview, and it will monitor your entire data estate and collect the information that's required. Anyone that's been involved with data protection will know that these are becoming more and more common now. Lots more people are aware of their rights and responsibilities under the GDPR and the Data Protection Act, and companies are seeing a lot more of these requests come in. So be able to run these very simply from Purview is a real benefit to a lot of organizations. And auditing, there is a really powerful feature within Purview where you can essentially audit any activity across 365. If you were looking for if a particular thing, let's say a huge amount of files have been deleted by accident, or you wanted to know what was going on in certain areas of your SharePoint site, you can very quickly set up customized audits and deploy that out, which will generate reports for you to look. A lot of companies use this as well to prove compliance to external partners or auditors. So if you are subject to any kind of external audit, or you do need to provide evidence of data compliance or governance to certain organizations, you can very quickly run these and generate reports from Purview to show how your data is being managed. So that's another really useful feature. And the last one I'm going to touch on, now this is a new feature in Purview. It's not something I've used. We do have a webinar coming up soon on third-party integration with Microsoft 365, and I am hoping to include this with it. But a lot of the policies and procedures you can set up in Purview and a lot of the functionality can actually now be deployed across third-party software as well. So it can go across your organization's social media channels or communications channels. Some examples are there on the screen. Like I said, this is a new feature that I haven't used. I'm looking into this, but I'm really interested to see how this works, because if you can deploy retention or sensitivity or run audits across social media or your communications channels, that could be a really useful feature for businesses. So I will get some more information on this, and I will include this in this third-party webinar that's coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So that's it from me. I know that's a very high-level overview, and like I said, we are planning on providing more in-depth training, hands-on training on some of this stuff. So if there is anything you'd like to know about in more detail or actually go through or see for real, obviously all our contact details are there. Please get in touch, and we'll be more than happy to explore these options with you and help you out.
Great. Okay, well, thank you very much, James. That was a really great session, and thank you for everybody who's attended. Just to remind you all that if you're interested in anything else, please do drop us an email. It's just hello@alberon.co.uk, and we'll definitely be happy to help you out further with that. Great. Thank you very much.
Cool.
I'll stop the recording now.